Welcome to Bethel Online Education Hub. Learn anytime, anywhere. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. Let's learn together, the Bethel way.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to our new learning in understanding culture, society, and politics. Today, our lesson is about how society is organized. We'll explore how groups are formed, how they function, and how they connect with one another. More importantly, we look at how each of us play our roles in this bigger picture we call society. By the end of the lesson, you'll better understand the importance of social groups, networks, and organization in shaping the way we live and interact with others. You've probably heard the saying, no man is an island. What do you think it means? It means that no one can live completely alone. From the beginning of time, humans have always lived and worked together, whether in small tribes, families, or communities. But why do you think we need to do that? We need to do that because we need one another to survive. And because we want to belong, to share, and to build a meaningful life together. This is the heart of our lesson today, understanding how society is organized and how people, by coming together, create groups, networks, and organizations that makes life possible and meaningful. Okay, let's get started. What drives us to organize society? Humans organize society not just to survive, but to create meaningful and build lasting communities. At the core is our survival instinct. We are stronger together than alone. But beyond survival, we have a desire for order and meaning. We create rules, roles, and system to bring structure to our lives. We also have a creative and constructive nature. We build civilization, learn from failure, and rebuild again. This cycle of growth and renewal reflects our deep drive to shape the world around us. What are the things or aspects you consider in identifying social group? Everyone wants a sense of belonging. From the moment we are born, we seek connection with our parents, our families, and eventually with friends and communities. This need is not just emotional. It is part of our human nature. We all want to feel accepted, valued, and included in something bigger than ourselves. Belonging gives us comfort, security, and identity. Next, do you consider yourself as part of a social group? As Aristotle once said, man is by nature a social being and he interacts with others. We are not made to live in isolation. We are wired to connect, communicate, and build relationship. This natural instinct is why we form families, circle of friends, religious communities, school, organizations, and nations. How does it feel being one of the members of the group? As a member of a group, we, we begin to think in terms of a special we. We no longer see ourselves as just individuals. We identify with the groups we belong to. We share in its values, goals, celebrations, and even struggles. This shared identity helps us from deeper bonds and sense of unity. Last is the what makes up a social group and why there is need for social group. Do we really depend on it? Whether it's a family, a sports team, a cultural group, or a classroom, being part of a group gives us purpose. It reminds us that we are not alone, that we are seen, heard, and accepted. And in return, we contribute, support, and grow together. Now, let's talk about groups. So, what is groups? Groups are the smaller units that compose society. Society as a whole is made up of many groups. Families, peer circles, work teams, religious communities, political organizations, and more. These groups are where individuals interact from relationship and play specific roles. A group is not just any collection of people. It is a unit of interacting personalities, meaning the members engage with one another in meaningful ways through communication, cooperation, conflict, and shared experiences. These interactions are not random. They follow patterns and expectations that shape how each person behaves within the groups. Within a groups, there exists an independence of roles and status. Roles are the expected behaviors or responsibilities assigned to individuals. Status refers to a person's position within the group, which may come with authority, respect, or certain expectation. These roles and status are connected, meaning that each person's actions affect the rest of the group. For examples, a teacher's roles depends on student responding and participating. A leader depends on members to follow and contribute. Groups play a vital role in shaping both individuals and the society they live in. They are not only the building blocks of society, but also the foundation of learning, behavior, and cultural development. Here's why groups are important. First, transmitter of culture. Groups pass on society's values, beliefs, custom, language, and traditions from one generation to the next. Whether it's through family, schools, or religious organizations, groups help preserve and teach what a society holds important. Without groups, culture would not survive. Next, means of social control. Groups establish norms, rules of acceptable behavior, and help enforce them through approval, disapproval, rewards, or discipline. Groups influence how individuals behave. This helps maintain order and harmony in society and prevents chaos or defiance. Next, socialize of individuals. Group teach us how to act, speak, and interact with others. From childhood to adulthood, we learn social roles and expectation within our families, schools, peer groups, and workplace. This process of socialization help us become functioning member of society. Next, source of ideas. Groups are space where new ideas, opinions, and solutions are exchanged through discussion and collaboration. People in groups influence one another thinking. This makes up a powerful source of innovation, learning, and creativity. Next, trains the individual in communication. Effective communication is learned and practiced in groups. We develop listening skills, verbal and non-verbal communication, empathy, and cooperation by interacting with others. These skills are essential not only in personal life but also in professional and civic life. Now, let's talk about social group. What are social group? According to Masionis, a social group is two or more people who identify with and interact with one another. These interactions are not random. They involve a sense of connection, shared experiences, and mutual recognition. Social groups are where human beings came together in meaningful ways, whether as couples, families, circle of friends, neighborhood, communities, religious or civic groups, schools, workplace, or large organization. Regardless of the size or form, every social group is made up of people who share something in common, such as interests, values, experiences, or even kinship ties. These shared elements create a sense of belonging and identity among members. Why are social groups important? Social groups are essential to human life. They provide support and belonging, opportunities for learning and communication, a way to transmit culture and values, a structure for roles, norms, and responsibilities. Now, let's talk about characteristic of social groups. Social groups are more than just people gathered in one place. They have unique pictures that makes them structured and meaningful. Here's are the key characteristics. First, regular interaction through communication. Members of a social group interact frequently with one another. These interactions involve verbal or nonverbal communications that helps build relationship, share ideas, and achieve group goals. Next, structured role and statuses. Every social group develops a structure. Each member usually takes one specific status and performs a particular role. These roles help the group's functions effectively and ensure that responsibilities are shared. Next, shared procedures, norms, and values. Groups operate based on orderly procedures, expectations, and commonly accepted values or rules. This guide behavior, maintain maintain order, and help members know what is expected to them. And last, sense of identity and belonging. Members of a group feel a sense of identity, a feeling that they are part of something meaningful. This shared identity strengthens the bonds between members and create a sense of we instead of just I. Now, let's proceed with the social category. A social category refers to a collection of people who shared a common status or characteristics, even if they do not interact with one another regularly or see themselves as part of a group. Unlike a social group, a social category is more about classification, putting people into groups based on shared traits or social characteristics. Examples of social categories. People can be grouped into social categories based on gender, age, race or ethnicity, nationality, and social class, occupation, education level, religion. Members of a social category shared something in common, but they not know each other or feel a person's connection. For example, all college graduates belong to the same category based on education, but they may not form a groups unless they actively interact and identify with one another. Now, let's talk about what is social aggregate. Social aggregate is a collection of people who are in the same place at the same time, but who do not necessarily share anything in common and may not interact with each other. Unlike a social group, members of a social aggregate do not form lasting relationships, shared a common identity, or engage in a meaningful interaction. They are simply individuals who happen to be near each other. For example, temporary gardening or unrelated individuals. No shared goals or identity. Little to no interaction. Physical presence in the same location. Examples: people walking down a crowded sidewalk. Next, examples: diners eating at the same restaurant. Other examples: passenger riding at the same bus or train. And here's another one: shoppers browsing in a grocery store. A social aggregate is not a group in the sociological sense. While people are near each other or physically, they remain independent and unconnected. It's the presence in the shared space, not shared purpose or interactions, that identifies a social aggregate. Now, let's proceed with the factors that influence groups. Several factors affect how a group forms, functions, and develop over time. These factors shape the behavior of members, the strength of group bonds, and the group's overall effectiveness. First is the motivational base shared by individuals. Groups are influenced by the motivation that drives individual to join. When members share common interests, needs, or goals like learning, social support, or achievement, the group become more cohesive and focused. The stronger the shared motivation, the more committed members tend to be. Next is the size of the group. The numbers of members impacts how a group operates. Small groups tend to have more personal, face-to-face interaction and stronger relationship. Larger groups may have more resources and diversity, but often face challenges in coordination, communication, and decision making. Next is the types of group goals. The purpose or goals of the group influence its structure and functioning. We have the task-oriented goals, require cooperation and problem solving. Next, we have social goals, focus more on emotional bonding and connection. Clear, shared goals gives the group direction and unity. Next, we have kind of groups structure. Groups may be formal or informal, and this structure affects roles, rules, and leadership. Formal groups have defined roles, responsibility, and rules. Informal groups are more flexible and spontaneous, often formed through social interaction. The type of structure influence how decisions are made, how conflicts are managed, and how members interact. Understanding these factors, motivations, size, goals, and structures help explains why groups behave the way they do. These elements determine how strong, effective, and organized a group will be. Ay, maklik. Now, let's proceed with social organization. Social organization is the process of bringing order and meaning into human social life. It involves structuring relationship, roles, and responsibilities in a way that helps individuals work together, ful- fulfill their needs, and achieve common goals. In other words, it's how society arranges itself so that people can live and function in an organized, stable, and meaningful way. Structured relationship, people relate to one another based on roles and status. This structured relationship reduce chaos and guide behavior. Shared norms and rules. Social organizations are guided by shared expectations, customs, and laws. This help maintain order and define what is acceptable within the group or society. Division of labor and responsibilities. In an organized society, individuals or group are assigned different tasks and functions. This specialization increases efficiency and cooperation. Institutions and system. Examples of or social organization includes families, schools, governments, religious institutions, and economies. These institutions help manage different areas of life. Without social organization, human life will be chaotic and disorder. It provides stability and predictability in interactions, guidance for behaviors and roles, support system for individuals and group needs, a, a framework for building communities and civilizations. Characteristic of social organization. Social organization bring order to human interactions by establishing patterns, roles, and systems that help people live and work together. The following are its key characteristics. First, differentiation in status and roles. In every social organization, people are assigned different roles and statuses based on factors like sex, age, skills, or abilities. For example, older individuals may hold leadership roles, while younger ones are expected to learn or follow. Roles guide behavior and help maintain structure and balance in society. Next, repeat repeated activities and behavior. Social organization is built on patterns of behavior that, that are repeated over time. This includes daily routines, tradition, and cultural practices that people follow consistently. Next, a system of norms and values. Social activities are governed by shared norms and values that guides how members of society behave. These norms tell us what is right or wrong, acceptable or unacceptable. For example, respect for elders, honesty, and cooperation are common values in many society. Next, control and sanctions. In every social organizations, some individuals or institutions hold authority and responsible for maintaining order. These peoples guide others and enforce rules. A system of sanctions exists to ensure that members follow norms. This help maintain peace, discipline, and cooperation within the group. These characteristics, role differentiation, repeated behavior, shared norms and values, and system of control help create a stable, organized, and functional society. Without this, social life will be chaotic and unpredictable. Now let's talk about social structure. Social structure refers to the organized set of social institutions and patterns of relationship that together make up a society. It provides the framework that shape how individuals and groups behave, interact, and relate to one another. It provides order and predictability in society. It also helps individuals understand their roles and responsibilities. It shapes opportunities, limitations, and interactions in everyday life. It also ensures that society's functions smoothly through organized relationship and institution. Social structure is like the skeleton of society. It holds everything together and support the way people live, work, and relate to one another. Groups within society. In sociology, groups are often categorized based on the types of social ties or relationships that connect their members. These ties can be emotional, functional, or formal, and they shape how people interact within the group. Here are the main two types of groups according to social ties. First is the primary group. A primary group is a small, intimate, and less specialized group where members from deep, personal, and long-lasting relationship. These groups are essential in shaping our emotional well-being, personality, and values from young age. Primary groups are small in size and intimate. Consist of few members which allow for close face-to-face interactions. This setting encourage trust, understanding, and emotional closeness. Members of a primary groups do not gather for a single specific goal. Instead, they interact in many different ways. Talking, playing, solving problems, celebrating and supporting one another. These are the relationship based on spending a great deal for time together, engaging in a wide range of activities, feeling that they know each other deeply, providing emotional support and security, developing a strong sense of loyalty and care. They don't often first social group we belong to, especially our families. They play a crucial role in early socialization, helping us learn values, language, behavior, and identity. The emotional ties formed in primary groups provide comfort, belonging, and personal development throughout life. Examples of primary groups: families, the foundational group in everyone's life. Next, playgroups, young children forming early friendship. Next, close friends groups, trusted friends we rely on and spend time with regularly. Next, functions or tight knit peer groups, a small groups with strong loyalty and shared experience. Primary groups are essential in our emotional and social development. They are characterized by strong bonds, long-term relationship, and deep sense of loyalty. Unlike formal or goal-oriented groups, primary groups are formed for personal connection, not for achievement or structure. Secondary group. A secondary group is a large, impersonal social group where members came together to achieve a specific goal or task. Unlike primary groups, secondary groups are often formal, temporary, and based on functions rather than emotional connections. Members of a secondary groups interact mainly to accomplish a purpose, such as completing work, attending classes, or running an organizations. These groups often include many people, which makes close personal relationship difficult or unnecessary. Members may not know each other. There is a little to no deep emotional bonding. Interactions is typically formal, professional, or based on roles and duties. Secondary groups usually exist for a limited time. They may form and dissolve without any lasting impact on the members. Examples of secondary groups: industrial workers or factory teams, company employees or office staff, student in a university class, faculty and academic departments, business associates or project collaborators. Secondary groups are essential for the functions of modern society, especially in workplace, schools, and institutions. These are based on roles, rules, and tasks, not on emotional closeness. Members work together to complete goals, and once those goals are reached, the group may end or change. Next, we have the intermediate group. An intermediate group is a cross between primary and secondary group. It combines elements of both. While it may be larger in size like secondary group, it still maintains emotional bonds and personal connections like primary groups. Intermediate groups can include more members, often spread out in different places due to work, residence, or life situations. Even though members are physically apart, they still care deeply for one another and feel a sense of belonging, loyalty, just like in primary groups. It may involve organized communication, but the emotional connection remains strong. For example, a family whose members live in different cities or countries due to work or study, but they still maintain regular contact and support each other emotionally. Intermediate groups bridge the gap between intimate face to face interactions and large goal driven relationship. They remind us that even when people are physically apart, emotional connection and identity as a group can remain strong. Now, let's talk about social group according to self-identification. Social group can also be classified based on how individuals identify themselves in relation to others. This means a person voluntarily feels a connection or sense of belonging to a group because of shared characteristic, interests, or experiences. Individuals consider themselves part of a group not just by formal membership, but because they see themselves as belonging. Example, a person may say, I'm an environmentalist, even if they don't belong to an official organization. The person feels emotionally connected or invested in the group. They feel they are one of us rather than one of them. Identification is based on personal choice, values, or identity, rather than external assignment or obligations. Examples: a teenager who identifies as part of the LGBTQ community, even if they don't attend formal gatherings. Another example, someone who see themselves as K-pop fan or part of a fandom. Next, a person who says, I'm a gamer or I'm a mental health advocate, even without official membership. Another examples, individuals who identify a cultural religions or ethnic groups because they were raised it or relate to its values. Self-identification helps people develop a strong sense of identity, find support, and belonging. Formal im- form informal communities even without face-to-face interactions. Express their beliefs and values through group membership. Self-identification is a powerful way people connect with the groups. It shows that being part of group isn't only about physical presence or formal roles. It's also about how we see ourselves and who we choose to connect with. Now let's talk about in-groups. A social group according to self-identifications. An in-group is a social group where a person feels a strong sense of belonging, identifies as a member, and feels comfortable or at home. It is a group where individuals say we or us because they share common identity, values, or interests. The person recognize themselves as part of a group, they feel emotionally connected and committed on it. Members feel accepted, valued, and supported. They often loyalty or pride in being part of the group. Indicator of in-groups. In-groups may be based on the variety of characteristics with which can be a distinct yet abstract. These traits that binds people together even if they don't personally know each other. Next, common interests or hobbies. People may identify with others who share similar activities or passion. For example, playing chess, cooking, backpacking or hiking, gardening, online gaming. Next, verify specific and practical memberships. These groups are formed by shared roles, experience, or formal affiliations. Student from the same school, citizen of the same country, employees of the same company, members of the same organization or team. Example statement of in-group identification. I am proud to be a Filipino. We play chess. We chess players always support one another. As employees of this company, we stand together. In-groups are powerful because they give people a clear sense of identity, belonging, and purpose. Whether defined by culture, belief, interest, or shared experience, in groups influence how people think, feel, and relate to others. Now, let's talk about outgroups. A social group according to self-identification. An outgroup is a social group that a person does not belong to, does not identify with, and may even feel a sense of difference or separation from. Individuals often contrast themselves against outgroups, saying they instead of we. The individuals does not feel emotionally or socially connected. They feel indifferent, distant, or even in position to members of the group. The outgroups represents a group that is not us. People from a different background, interest, belief, or affiliation. Often are in groups, identify becomes clear. Identity becomes clear. When we compare ourselves to others who belong to different groups. Examples, school affiliation. The Lasallians are Lasallians because they are not Athenians. Here, the identify one group is shaped in contrast to another. Examples, hobby-based. I play chess intensely, so I don't hang out with basketball players. The individuals identify strongly with chess players and see sports player as an outgroup. Another example, cultural or religions. A person who practices one religion may feel disconnected from people of another faith, especially if values differ greatly. They help define the boundaries of group identity. Sometimes, outgroups are viewed in neutral differences, but at times, this can lead to stereotypes, competitions, or conflict if not managed with understanding and respect. Outgroups are social groups that we see as separate from ourselves, either because of differences in beliefs, interests, roles, or affiliation. Recognizing in-groups and out-groups helps explain how people build identity, but also remind us to be mindful of divisions and biases that may come with it. Okay, now let's talk about network. A network refers to a series or web of social ties that link individuals or group to one another. It represents the connections we have across different areas of our lives, whether close or distant, formal or informal. This tie may be based on friendship, kinship, professionals, relationship, or shared affiliation. A network may not form a group in the traditional sense, but the connections among individuals make it socially significant. Some connections in a network are strong, while others are weak. Networks can grow over time as people meet new individuals and form more links across personal, academic, and professional settings. Examples of social networks. We have family and relatives that connect by blood or marriage. Next, friends and acquaintance from schools or neighborhood. Academic contacts like teachers, classmates, and alumni. Business relationships such as co-workers, clients, or professional mentors. Religious affiliations within church, parishes, or faith groups. They provide social support. They help with opportunities like getting a job, finding help, or sharing resources. They foster collaboration and influence across communities. In the age of social media, digital network have become more powerful tools for building relationship and spreading ideas. A network is not about belonging to a single group. It is about the it is about the web of connections that link people together. It's help individuals interact, shares resources, and support each other, even if they are not part of the same immediate group. Functions of social networks. Social networks are web of relationships that connect individuals or groups through various forms of social ties, such as friendship, kinship, work, or shared interests. These networks are not just casual groupings. They play important roles in shaping social life. First functions is the diffusion. In social network, information spread quickly from one person to another. Just like how gossip, breaking news, or trends circulate among friends or online groups. This is known as diffusion. It refers to the way ideas, behavior, or information move through a network, often reach large number of people in a short time. Example, a viral video or trending news story gets shared rapidly across social media platforms like Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, or Instagram. In everyday life, news about a school event or community issue spread quickly because people keep passing it along through chats or words of mouth. Diffusion help keeps people informed, but it also means false information can spread just as fast. So it is important to verify what we hear or share. Next functions of social network is exchange. Social network enable exchange, not just for information, but also of goods, services, favors, or opportunities. People often give and receive help, resources, or material support within their networks. This mutual give and take strengths relationship and promotes trust. Information change. People share advice, recommendation, or useful tips. Material exchange. Tangible items or services are exchanged, like lending money, giving out goods, or even doing favors in return for future help. Examples: in multi-level marketing, people sell products within their social circles and earn through referrals, showing how personal networks are used for economic gain. Another examples, a student borrow a book from a friend. Then, tutors that friends in return. Exchange within networks build reciprocity, a key element of social cooperation. However, network can be also imbalanced if the exchange is one-sided. Next functions of social network is social support. Social network provide emotional, informational, and practical support. Whether you are facing personal struggles, making big decisions, or just needing someone to talk to, your network often becomes your first source of help. Social support came from family, friends, classmates, co-workers, or even online communities. Emotional support, comfort, encourage, empathy. Informational support is advice, referral, suggestions, and instrumental supports like tangible help, helping someone move, move, watching their child, or lending money. Referral system works especially well within social network. People can find jobs through someone who refers them to company. Locate professionals based on their friends' recommendations. Form support groups. Examples: a fresh grad gets hired because a friend referred them to their company's HR manager. Another examples: a parent joins an online support group for children with special needs through a friend's suggestions. Social support boosts a person's well-being, improves resilience during tough times, and strengthens social bonds in community. Next is the exclusions. While social networks provide many benefits to those inside them, they can also exclude those who are not part of the social network. This means outsiders may miss out on valuable information, opportunities, resources, and social support that, that are only shared within the group. People outside the network may not receive the same help, job referrals, or emotional support. They may feel isolated or left out of decisions, events, or community benefits. Exclusions can happen intentionally or unintentionally. Intentional exclusions: a group purposely leaves someone out. Examples are ignoring a new student. Unintentional exclusions means someone is left out simply because they don't have the right connections. Example, a person looking for a work is unaware of opening an opening because they are not part of the social group where the information is being shared. Another example, a student does not get invited to a study group because they are not friends with the rest of the members. Exclusions can lead to inequality in society. Those with fewer or weaker social ties may have limited access to the opportunity and support. Now, let's talk about the types of social groups according to purpose. Social groups can be classified based on their purpose or goals. Sometimes, some exist to fulfill specific interests. Others are to accomplish tasks, and some to influence decisions or social change. Below are the three major types. First is the special interest group. This group formed to meet the specific interests or needs of the member. The member share a common goals, passions, or activity that brings them together. For example, purpose to pursue hobbies, causes, and shared concern. Example, a photography club. Another is a book club, a social group or for people in diabetes, environmental advocacy organizations. This group often promote personal growth, learning, or community involvement based on mutual interest. Another types of social group according to purpose is the task group. These are groups these are groups organized to accomplish specific tasks or projects that usually cannot be done by just one person. Task group often have a defined timeline or end goal. Purpose to complete jobs or solve problems efficiently through teamwork. Examples: a school project group assigned to create a presentations, a disaster response team, a workplace committee planning an event. Task group are usually goal-oriented and temporarily, but highly collaborative. Another types of social group according to purpose is the influence or pressure groups. These groups are formed to influence public opinion, government policies, or social issues. They aim to promote or oppose specific actions, law, or practices. Purpose to support social change, protect rights, or promote political or moral agendas. Examples: human rights organizations, labor unions, anti smoking campaigns, advocacy groups pushing for education reforms. These groups often engage in lobbying, awareness campaigns, or protests to achieve their goals. Now, let's talk about types of social groups according to form of organizations. Social groups can be classified based on how they are structured and governed. This classification includes formal and informal groups. Here's the explanation for the first type. Formal groups are deliberately created with a specific structure, rules, and clear objective. These groups are often part of larger institutions, such as schools, such as schools, workplace, or government organizations. Clearly stated goals and objectives. Define roles and responsibilities based on ability or merit. Rules, regulation, and procedures guide the group's operations, often part of a social institutions. Examples of formal groups are the school student councils, a company's management team, a local government unit, and a non-profit organization with a board and staff. Formal groups ensure efficiency, order, and accountability in achieving tasks and organizing society. They play a key role in governance, education, businesses, and more. Now let's talk about another types of social groups according to form of organizations. Bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is a type of formal organizations designed to achieve goals efficiently and systematically. It is especially common in a large-scale institutions such as government, corporations, schools, and hospital. Characteristics of bureaucracies are administrative structure. Bureaucracies are organized to help members fulfill their responsibilities and meet specific goals through clearly defined process and structures. Next is the hierarchical arrangement. There is a clear chain of command or ranking, with each level supervising the one below it, like a pyramid. Authority flows from top to bottom. Next is division of labor. Tasks are divided into specific role and functions. Each member has a specialized duty based on skills, expertise, or positions. Formal roles and regulations. Work is guided by written rules, policies, and procedure, ensuring uniformity and fairness. Impersonality. Decisions are made based on rules and qualifications, but not on personal relationship or favoritism. Rational organization. Bureaucracy is a systematic, logical structure created to manage large organization effectively. Examples of bureaucracies. National government agencies like Department of Education, public hospitals, large corporations, the military, the university, and public schools. Bureaucracies help maintain order, consistency, and fairness in complex organizations. However, they can also become inefficient or rigid if overloaded with procedures or slow decision making. Next, we have the informal groups. Informal groups are social groups that form naturally and spontaneously without being officially planned or organized. They are usually based on personal relationship, shared interests, or emotional connections, rather than on formal rules or structure. Characteristic of informal groups. Spontaneous information. Informal groups arise naturally from day-to-day interactions between people. They are not created by institutions or assigned by authority. Lack of formal structure. There are no written rules, policies, or official goals. Leadership is often informal and based on influence or popularity. Emotionally based. Members are bound by friendship, trust, and shared feelings. Relationships are personal but built on mutual supports or affections. Similar to primary groups, they share many traits with primary groups, such as closeness, intimacy, and loyalty. Examples of informal groups. A groups of friends who eat lunch together daily. Classmates who help each other with school work. Neighborhoods who gather to chat regularly. Co-workers who form a barkadahan at work. Informal groups provide emotional support, a sense of belonging, and social connections. They can also influence behavior and morale in schools, workplace, and communities, even though they aren't officially recognized or managed. Humans are naturally social beings who forms group to survive, connect, and work together. Society is organized through different social groups like families, friends, and institutions that help share culture, values, and roles. Groups can be primary, secondary, and intermediate. Social networks connect people and allows the exchange or of support, informations, and help. Social organizations bring order through structured roles, norms, and institutions like schools, government. These structures help society functions smoothly. As we end our lesson today, remember that no one lives in complete isolation. We are all part of different social groups and networks that shape who we are and how we live. Understanding how society is organized help us appreciate the roles we play, the relationship we build, and the system that keep our communities functioning. By working together and respecting each other's roles, we contribute to a more united and orderly society. Thank you for joining this discussion. Until next time, stay curious and socially aware.